in a very short call on this bill, I want to start by saying that, contrary to the picture that is painted of us by the previous Speaker's party and others, we in the ACT Party are in favour of green solutions to problems, but we are in favour of smart green solutions to problems. An example of how complicated the position can be, Mr Speaker, is biofuels. 5 or 6 or I don't think many more years ago, biofuels were the greatest thing since sliced bread, almost literally. And here we are 5 or 6 years later having discovered that first-generation biofuels in fact led to starvation, or at least very severe food shortages because food crops were being used to generate them. So the first green solution that comes along is not always the smartest, and we will always be in favour of the smartest solution. And Mr Speaker, there's no doubt, as other speakers have said on both sides of the House, that there is great potential in this country, further great potential from tidal generation, from wind generation and geothermal. But sadly, the NIMBY syndrome is seen in all of those, Mr Speaker. I live not far from the shores of the Kaipara Harbour, which coincidentally is very near both the proposed thermal power station and a little bit further from the proposed tidal generation power station at the mouth of the Kaipara Harbour. And there are NIMBYs in both areas. Those on the land object to the power station because it's going to be lit up like a Christmas tree and make noise and emit greenhouse gases, supposedly. And those opposed to the, one would have thought, benign, environmentally friendly tidal power station say it's going to interfere with snapper spawning grounds and what have you. So there are always complications. It's never as simple as we would like it to appear. But I've always found it a little amusing, Mr Speaker, that the one thing the Greens in this party don't ever say, and they are unique in the green world so far as I'm aware, or the green political world, is in their attitude to nuclear power. Now, I in my far distant youth, demonstrated against nuclear weapons and nuclear propulsion being brought into this country, and I think I might again, but I've come to the stage 25 years later where I've realised that we maybe, just maybe, going to have to look at it. And the Greens in Europe are enthusiastic advocates of nuclear power. The Greens in New Zealand, yes, a small island nation not that far from us, is also apparently dabbling with the idea, apparently oblivious to the cost of the fuel and other problems and what to do with the waste, as Mr Chevelle says. But the European Greens, and I'm glad to see Dr Graham nodding his head, are all in favour of nuclear power as the greenest solution of the lot. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but I think we're going to have to examine it because clearly our energy demand is going to increase, and unlike the Greens, we don't advocate Luddite solutions and we don't advocate Stalinist-type bans that this seems to be. And I think there is some faith or some comfort from the past in technology, Mr Speaker. In closing, I'll mention that perhaps a century or a century and a half ago, coal gas was the greatest thing on earth. It created lit homes, lit streets, turning a switch on and a match and you had dinner rather than fires. A century later, it was gone, all replaced by electricity. Nowadays, in 2010, we are stuck, I believe, with oil and gas generation for a while yet. And I'll also go on record here on behalf of the ACT Party, Mr Speaker, and say that we have received a stark lesson in this country from the Gulf of Mexico in recent days. I think I can probably safely assume I'm the only member of the House who's actually worked in the Gulf of Mexico, and I would have ridiculed the Greens 6 months ago for their concerns about oil exploration, but we've just seen how dangerous it still can be. Oil exploration off our coasts, in which I spent 10 years of my life, is far, far more likely to damage our environment than any thermal power station emissions from thermal plants. And I'll put on record again, just to underline it, that we stand for protection of the environment. No amount of oil is worth despoiling our environment, as is happening in Louisiana. But we are not in favour of heavy-handed Luddite solutions as this one appears to be. Thank you.